Welcome to the CIONET podcast. My name is Daniel Eycken. I'm here with Olga Forné, the global CISO of the Abertis group. Welcome, Olga.
Thank you, Daniel. It's a pleasure to be here and to have the chance to reflect on this journey.
Today, you lead cybersecurity for a global infrastructure operator that is present across Europe, the Americas, India, managing critical assets where availability, safety, and public trust are non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Now, when you joined Abertis, cybersecurity was fragmented across countries with uneven maturity, limited strategic visibility. Today, it is an increasingly positioned as a business enabler and a pillar of resilience. When now, today, you reflect on this transformation, what is the core idea of belief that has guided your approach as a global CISO?
So one of the core beliefs is the CISO should be one of the persons that best understand the organization real information security risk, not just in theory, but also in practice. So because we know that when a risk materializes, it has no mercy. It moves fast and can cause significant damage in the organization if it isn't prepared. So that's why context matters so much. And I believe that we have to understand the business, the culture, the risk tolerance, and also the actual capabilities of the company and the people that is inside. So in my case, I moved into a global CISO role, which comes with a slightly different kind of responsibility that the CISO. And beyond managing the security, the role is more about defining a coherent strategy across all the countries. So aligning multiple local CISOs and making sure that the decisions that they make and that we make sense globally. So, and they are realistic, locally. So this requires speaking lots of languages. So the technical, the legal, the governance, the business, but the most important part is the human. So we have to be adapted to all the realities that are in all the countries. So these are the core ideas or beliefs that you have to implement or to apply.
Okay. Yeah, that's clear. Now, was there a moment early on when you realized that the organization needed to go from, let's say, a reactive compliance-driven model in terms of cybersecurity to a proactive risk-based strategy?
Yeah, there was absolutely. So about a year before I joined the company, there were several incidents in the sector, and one involved a key supplier and impacted us directly. So no, it wasn't a huge impact, but there was an impact. And the teams had to react quickly without much warning and under real pressure. And in that moment, so it made it clear that the company didn't have the visibility, the alignment, or the level of preparation that was needed. So the senior management felt that tension of not having the control over something that can deeply affect the business. So, and that was the moment that changed the conversation, and it became really, really obvious that cybersecurity couldn't be treated as an isolated technical function or just a compliance checklist. So, in order to shift the narrative, they look for a team to turn all of it, into a strategic capability and to embed the protection into the business. So the people, so in order to train all the people and give all the people that has to react to an incident on the proper tools.
Yeah. Now, for those in our audience that are less familiar with Abertis, can you briefly describe the mission of the company and the digital and operational context or landscape you have to operate in, particularly the mix of IT, OT, critical infrastructure?
Yeah, so Abertis is a global infrastructure operator focused mainly on managing high-capacity roads and mobility services. So our mission here is to ensure safe, efficient, and sustainable mobility for millions of people every day. So we operate across Europe, the Americas, and Asia in a highly decentralized environment with diverse local contexts, partners, and regulatory frameworks as well. So the technology here plays a critical role in our business, not just for efficiency, but also resiliency and safety. So we rely on a landscape of IT and OT systems, including tolling, platforms, traffic control, tunnel sensors, and surveillance systems. And all of them are deeply embedded in our day-to-day operations, actually. So that makes cybersecurity more than just a technical layer. It's more about protecting critical infrastructure that directly impacts in people's lives. So we don't just protect systems. So we help protect the daily life of millions of people on the move, really.
Yeah. Now, when you stepped into the role of global CISO, what were the most pressing risks or blind spots you identified within the group?
Yeah. So when I came here and I stepped into this role, so one of the things that I saw the first day, it was that it was all fragmentation. So both in visibility and also in maturity. So each business unit had a different approach to cybersecurity, different priorities, and different levels of capacity. So in some cases, there was a strong focus on compliance, but limited understanding of the actual risk exposure. In others, there was a local effort, but no group-wide alignment or shared language. So the result was uneven protection, a lack of consistency in how we assess, how we were prioritizing initiatives, and how we responded to threats. So we also had limited real-time visibility over key systems, especially across OT environments. So some people listening here, they are going to be nodding at this moment because this is kind of normal in the industry. And also, we didn't have a unified model for detecting or responding to incidents at the group level. So all of this created blind spots, not because the people weren't working hard, because they were, but they weren't working in a structured way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you then designed, in fact, a multi-year group-wide cybersecurity transformation structured around governance and risk alignment, operational resilience, cultural change. 3 pillars.
Yeah.
Why were these 3 pillars essential? And how did you sequence the work? How did you prioritize? What to do first?
So I like to simplify things a lot. And these 3 pillars came directly from what we saw on the ground. So we were traveling around all the business units and we saw clearly that we needed to work in this. So the governance and risk alignment were essential to build a common language. So we cannot protect what we cannot measure, and we cannot measure what is undefined. So we built a shared framework based on the NIST and the SIS controls, and we adapted it to the local realities, but consistent across the group. Then we saw that operational resilience is always a priority. So it's the resilience of the business, because we can't wait for protect governance to be perfect at governance before acting. So we reviewed incident response plans, monitoring capabilities, business continuity strategies, and conduct target blue and red team exercises, especially around our critical procedures. And the goal was here to detect early, respond fast, and prepare the business to minimize the impact of an incident. Not that preventing to happen, because we can prevent, but not always, but to be sure that the impact is minimized as far as we can. And finally, the cultural change. So people has to be on board at every level. So not just the framework, technology, it's not enough. We have to focus on awareness, community, and building a shared sense of responsibility. And that is the most difficult one. So we are also working on this. And well, I think that this sequence of 3 pillars are working really, really good in those years. And because we are building trust within all the countries, and the culture is moving slower, but we are moving. We are going there.
Yeah. Now, you already mentioned implementing a unified security governance framework, doing that across multiple countries and multiple business units. That's not a small challenge. So what were, in fact, the biggest challenges in aligning these different geographies around these common standards? What were the biggest challenges?
So here, the biggest challenge was alignment without imposition. So each country had different maturity levels, local constraints, and ways of working, as I said, and no one responds well to a top-down mandate. So that is normal. So we focus on building a shared baseline, not enforcing like uniformity. So that meant listening first, adapting the language, and designing flexibility into the model. So the standards gave us like a compass, so a tool to use, but trust the context and the collaboration with them. It was what it made like every like information security master plan to work properly in each of the regions.
Yeah. Now, a key part of your work was introducing risk-based dashboards that connected cyber metrics with operational and business risks indicators. How did this change the conversations with the executive leadership?
So actually, it gives us a way to speak the same language. So by linking cybersecurity to operational and business risk indicators, we move the conversation from abstract threats that nobody understood or wanted to understand, and to more tangible exposure and priorities. So it helped leadership across the several business units better understand where to focus, what was improving, and what still needed attention with a more risk-driven approach. So it wasn't about reinventing the wheel, as we say here in Spain, but more about bringing more structure and clarity to support informed decisions.
Yeah, starting to speak the same language in the way to speak with business. Yeah. Now,
if they cannot understand you, so they are not going to help you or buy your idea. So,
avoid the loss in translation factor. Yes.
Completely.
Now, you strengthened security operations through 24/7 monitoring, improved incident response. You conducted red team exercises, focus on critical systems, such as the tolling and the traffic platforms that you already mentioned. Now, what measurable improvements did you see in detection, response, and resilience?
So one of the clearest improvements here was visibility. So we know we have continuous monitoring and structured incident response processes covering all of our critical operations. So we have that at this moment. So, and we have also seen a tangible reduction in high impact incidents and a better coordination in detection and response across all the geographies. So the red team and blue team exercises help the business to validate controls in realistic conditions and refine our priorities. So these kind of activities are our business as usual in all the information security areas. And if you talk with other CISOs, they are going to say to you that this is normal, but this has to be done. And we don't do it as much as we need normally, the companies. So it's really, really good to have it and to have it not just to perform it like internally, but also with external collaboration, that they provide you an external view and other tools, and they look at things differently and make you think. So we are still evolving here, but the foundation now it's stronger than like some years ago. And yeah, so I would say that we are going to continue in that path.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about the third party or supplier risk. That is something that is especially complex in infrastructure ecosystems. How did you approach supplier cybersecurity, particularly for OT and industrial systems, without, of course, slowing down operations?
Well, that is a tough matter because we always start with the IT environment, that it's always easier for all of us, not just the information security teams, but also the IT teams as well. So, and when it comes to the OT part, so we have legacy systems sometimes. And when you want to, as you were saying, not to slow down, why we are going to slow down something? Because we are talking about legacy systems or systems that are not prepared to implement some kind of controls in terms of cybersecurity. So we did an audit about what we had at home, so in all the business units, and we had to decide which kind of legacy systems we had to maintain because we don't have another option, and we had to put some layers over that. So in order to not stop the operation, so operations here is first. Well, after safety, there is operation and the continuity. So we did that with some legacy systems, and with the others, so we started to change that. So if the system cannot support the security, so the company looks to replace the system. So we do that, and we are working with our suppliers in order to build systems that are secure enough. So we have talked with some suppliers of our sector infrastructure that they didn't implement or embed security inside their technology. And we are working with them in order to implement that. And that is also good. It's a win-win because it's not just for us, because they can sell that product to other companies. So yes, there are competitors, but it's good for the society, it's good for our clients, it's good for all of us to have cybersecurity nowadays embedded in all of our processes. So that is the approach that we are following, and also collaborating with other companies that they do the same as us. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, when looking back, which outcome, in your opinion, best demonstrates that cybersecurity at Abertis is now seen as a value protection rather than just a cost center?
Yeah. So the fact that cybersecurity is now part of the strategic conversations, actually. Yeah. When we talk with the CEOs of the companies, or when we talk with business, so most of the times they ask us specific things before like running a new business, and we are seeing that we are not seen now just like a technical stuff. And I believe that that is one of the strongest indicators. So today we are involved in business continuity planning, in operational risk discussions, investment decisions as well, and digital projects from the start. And that is a different thing. Also, we have also seen increased support from the leadership, not just in budget terms, but also in attention, visibility, and alignment. So cybersecurity, I will say it's no longer something to deal with, but it's something to build with.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Now, you've put strong emphasis on cultural change, launching tailored awareness programs, building an internal CISO community across 12 business units.
Yeah.
Why was peer-to-peer collaboration so critical in your context?
Well, actually, because I believe that hierarchy isn't going to get us very far. So most of the people I work with don't report directly to me. So they have a part of the reporting they do, but the other not. So they operate in different local contexts with different pressures and levels of maturity. So if we want the consistency and we needed trust, we cannot go with like a top-down control. So building a CISO community has helped us get there. So it has created a space for open dialogue, mutual support, and also shared learning. So across all the countries and backgrounds. So
Yes.
it also provides us visibility as well, and provides them visibility, because it's not that normal that from headquarters that you provide a lot of visibility to the business unit, and here we do it both ways. So that is a great way to work. So it helps turning cybersecurity into something that is shared, that it's not just isolated or a mandate from headquarters or your stakeholders. So this model is not always perfect, but I think that make us as the information security area like better every day. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, how do you adapt your security culture initiatives to the local realities while at the same time maintaining, of course, a strong group-wide identity and direction?
Yeah, so we have here a clear group-wide strategy, and from there, each business unit is developing its own master plan. So align with the global direction, but adapt into the local context. So that means adjusting the format, the tone, the focus of awareness initiatives based on cultural differences, maturity levels, and also business priorities, because you may believe that, okay, so all the business units are doing the same. Well, actually, they don't. And the business priorities are not always the same. Okay. So in some business units, the focus is still on foundational practices, actually. In others, they are going deeper, involving leadership, shaping behaviors, and making security part of the day-to-day mindset. So the goal, I will say here, isn't a copy-paste. So we are building a shared identity, but not by enforcing uniformity, but by making the message relevant and in each context. So that in a way that the people is feeling that they are part of something and not subject to something that headquarters is telling them.
Yeah, that is imposed. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, you worked closely with HR to embed, in fact, cybersecurity into the onboarding and leadership development. What changed once security became part of how leaders are trained, not just how systems are protected?
Yeah, so it hasn't changed everything overnight, but it has increased awareness and commitment. So when security is part of leadership and development, it becomes more visible, so more accessible and more natural to include in the decision making. So people feel more like accountable as well, because it also
Yeah.
comes from the HR department, and they are not just like informed. So I think that that is a good place to start. So yeah.
Yeah. Now, in an environment of increasing pressure, increasing regulatory demand and attacks, etc., how do you personally work to prevent burnout and disengagement within your teams?
That is really, really difficult, not just in this company, but I think that in all of
Yeah.
us. And so, first, I always like, and we always recognize that the pressure is part of the job. So, if you work in the information security area, cybersecurity, so we have that. So, but
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that we should normalize exhaustion. Okay. So I try to be present, to set realistic expectations. Although I am an optimist always about time and by nature,
Yeah.
but we have to celebrate small wins, and we do that and keep things human. So we talk openly about boundaries. So it's a professional relationship, and we have to talk about that as well. So about when
Yeah.
to push, and also when to pause as well. So and above
Yeah.
all, I try to stay as close as I can to the team and make sure the people feel seen and they are seen. Because in high pressure environments, I believe that it's essential to show that everyone matters and every contribution is significant, and they can say, okay, I need to stop at this moment because I cannot take this and I need help.
Yeah. Okay. Now, one of your biggest leadership challenges was influencing the teams without direct hierarchical authority.
Yeah.
What helped you? What really helped you building the trust and alignment across the countries, the cultures, the maturity levels?
So as easy and difficult as listening first. So I spend a lot of time early and now on just understanding the different realities across the group. What matters to one team may not matter to another. What matters with one person in that team doesn't matter to another. So then I focus on being useful. That's how I started. So because so I am the one that is managing all, but you have to be useful and to think what they need. So, and also bringing clarity, frameworks, or support, not just demanding. So, because I think that trust doesn't come from authority, as I said, it comes more from showing up. So, staying consistent and respecting how other work. So, for that, you have to listen, but genuinely. So, you have to do it by your inside. It's not like faking that, okay?
Yeah.
And trying your best to help and knowing that also you can make mistakes, and that's good as well. So it's okay, but you try your best and you try to help them.
Yeah. Now, you already said that cybersecurity only becomes a strategic matter when risks are translated into business relevance. Now, can you share an example of how reframing a cyber issue changed an executive decision?
Well, that is difficult. So I will not point to a single example. It's more about a shift in how we frame things every day. So what I say here is like when we stop talking about vulnerabilities and start talking about operational risk, for instance, or service continuity or regulatory exposure, or so when you start to do that with your words, the conversation starts to change as well. So it becomes less about fixing security and more about protecting the value of the company. So what I have seen here is that when risks are translated into relevance, okay, something that really matters to the company, and for that you have to know the company because it's different with every business and also inside the company with every person. So leaders engage differently. So they ask better questions and they act earlier as well. So that's when cybersecurity starts to matter, not because it's louder, but because it's clearer.
Yeah, both parties understand each other.
Exactly.
Yes. Now, as you're also a member of corporate risk forums and you're an active voice in European security communities, how do you balance these internal priorities with external ecosystem responsibility?
So it's not always easy, I have to say it. Yeah,
Yes.
it's sometimes it's exhausting, but I see both sides as connect. So what we learn internally, especially in a complex and decentralized environment like ours, is highly relevant to the wider ecosystem. So in this sense, and what we learn from the outside, from regulators, peers, or internal forums, help us to stay ahead, to stay tuned. So what I try here is to be more intentional. So sharing what I believe that can be useful, listening more than speaking always, not today, but normally, and bringing back insight that I hope will add value in each company when people is listening. So, and how I balance. So I don't know, but I always ask me this question, so I cannot answer how I can balance my time during these things. But I believe that security doesn't stop at the perimeter, so it doesn't stop here in this company. So we have to look outside in order to be better as professionals and to implement it in our companies. So we cannot stop learning and implementing new things.
Yeah. In fact, you often speak about leading with trust rather than control.
Yeah.
How has this philosophy shaped your leadership style as a global CISO?
So I think that it's at the core of how I lead, actually, always. And it's not just because we work in security, but especially when you operate across countries, cultures, and teams, people, so that they don't report to you directly. So trust is not optional, it's essential. Okay, if they don't trust you, so you are not going to work properly with them. So I try to be consistent, clear, and always present. So I don't have all the answers, as I said, but I show up, I listen, and I focus on enabling others. Yeah. So for me, leadership isn't about being the best or knowing more than others. It's more about helping the people recognize their strengths and identify where they can grow and trying to encourage them to be a little better every day. Okay, because there is people that they always say, okay, I stop here, and you know that they can push themselves more and they want to, but they say, okay, I am staying here in my comfort zone. I want more, but I don't know how. So you have to let them to do that how. And also maybe there is a mistake or an error, but we have done that. So, and you can make errors, and that's okay if you want to learn. Okay. So, yeah, I would say it's more like motivating people and trying to control less. So you have to trust them also more.
Now, looking back at all the work you achieved, was there a specific difficult leadership moment during the transformation? And what did it teach you?
Yeah, so one of the hardest things, one of the hardest realizations that has been that not everyone moves at the same pace or with the same ambition.
Yeah.
And that was tough for me. And over the years, I've also come to the understand that not everybody wants to take more responsibility or climb the traditional ladder. And that is also okay. So some people just, let me say in that way, want to do their job well, grow in their own way and contribute without like chasing titles. And that's not just valid, but it's valuable. So I've learned to let go that instinct to pull everyone in the same direction and to respect like the different rhythms. So, and I also learned that resilience in leadership is about knowing when to step back and when to push and when to let things like settle. Okay. So it's like more like respecting the teams and not trying to push all them because so in my own flesh, I always say, okay, I want to learn more, I want to do more because I have this kind of personality, but we need people with the other type of personalities as well. And that is also really, really good.
Yeah. Now, maybe a cheeky question, but imagine you're not in the room. How would your teams describe your leadership style?
Well, what I hope they will say is that I am accessible, that I am supportive, and mostly trustworthy, that I bring clarity without any drama and direction when they need that. But I also hope that they say that I am a person that I care for things. And if not, well, I guess I still have some work to do. But I think that it's better that if you want, you can ask them directly.
If we talk about, if we focus on you personally, but what drives you, what gives you energy in your role as a cybersecurity leader?
Yeah, so what motivates me is that knowing that the work that we do really matter. So we are quiet, we are consistent, and in some ways, so people actually don't even notice the work that we are doing. And that is the moment that I say that we are doing something good, okay? Because we don't have to make a lot of noise in information security. So in order to work with, so to have a smooth activity, okay? And I also care like deeply about building spaces where people can grow, can feel seen, and contribute to something that is meaningful. No, so that's why I put like that much emphasis in people, in teams, because I care actually. So some people say, okay, I care, but then you see some actions that is like, well, you do, but well, and I try to do that. So, and I think also that we have nowadays a world that has a lot of pressure, a lot of speed, and I
Yeah.
try to bring a bit of clarity, structure, and yeah, and calmness to the
Yeah.
teams. That is like it's okay, so we can do our work and we show up every day. And if there is a problem, so we are going to react to that, and we can do that. Okay, so that is the thing that keeps me going. Yeah.
Okay. Now, looking ahead, what will be the next major challenge or opportunity for cybersecurity in global infrastructure organizations like Abertis?
So I believe here that because we don't have it, we have it in some of the business units, but not across all the group, that the real opportunity is to evolve from being seen as a technical function to more as a structural one. So we are already beyond the phase of just saying no or reacting to incidents. So that's okay. So we are seeing to like something else. So the next step is to embed cybersecurity into how we manage the business continuity, the resilience, and the risk at every level. So that means being a part of the strategic discussions in all the
Yeah.
geographies and not just the technical ones. Okay, and it means also showing that cybersecurity isn't a separate layer. It's the like a nervous system of how the business moves and earns the trust.
Yeah. Now, if tomorrow, say, someone else, a global CIO, a CISO, sorry, if tomorrow a global CISO was starting a similar journey as the one you did, what would be your single most important piece of advice to him or to her?
I will repeat myself here. So listen first. So don't
Yeah.
assume that you know what people need, or even if the risks seem like obvious. So and don't assume that what worked in your previous organization, even in the same sector, will work here. So culture, resources, dynamics, every ecosystem is unique. So, and also I will say that this isn't just a technical job, so they have to remember that. So, although that knowledge matters, being a CISO today is more about influence, translation, and also leadership in complex environments. So, you are not just here to manage threats, okay? So, you are here to design trust into the business. So, yeah, I will say that.
Okay. Yeah. I think this is a perfect conclusion to this interview. Thank you for your genuine, very personal insights and sharing all this with the audience. I very much enjoyed our interview, and thank you very much for giving us your time and energy for doing this. Thank you, Olga.
Thank you for having me here.